It's an honor to take care of those who took care of us, our elders. I'm privileged to be working with Association of Senior Living India, where all our member organizations believe in the same ethos and conscience of always putting our seniors first. ASLI, as a national organization, was formed with a vision to catalyze the growth and development of the elder care sector. And our prime objective has been to create a platform for all the players in the senior care continuum. As per UN Population Division 2019, percentage of seniors in India is projected to rise to 19.5% by 2050. Against this backdrop, the subject of an aging population will be of social as well as economic significance to the country. Therefore, India needs to transform its approach towards this segment of the population, from being considered a burden on resources to a precious resource for the nation's economic growth. We are delighted to have Mr. Subramaniam, Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment with us. Now I would like to introduce the moderator for this interaction, Mr. Ankur Gupta, co-founder and chairman ASLI and joint managing director, Ashiana Housing. Mr. Gupta, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Bani, and thank you for all the hard work you've done to put this conclave together. Uh, I just heard the first session with Rajat, and the kind of economy we are seeing on the senior care sector. I just started thinking that am I looking at the economy to be smaller than what it is, and the opportunity which other people are looking at. So great session, and thank you for for all the panelists to be there. First, I just want to thank a lot of you, Bani, Shweta from ASLI, Moni from Unmukt, and Unmukt's team to bringing this together. The technology together, it's definitely different. And, one of the things I love about this technology, if you want to network with each other, you can actually network through this technology and kind of make it more real time. The ASLI working group, which brought a lot of members came together, gave lots of ideas, made all the difficult calls to get sponsors, exhibitors to be part of it, and we've luckily got about 200 delegates registered for today and about 7,000 consumers registered for tomorrow and day after for the exhibition. Uh, Mr. Subramaniam, thank you for being part of it. I really appreciate it. And we also have Sister Shivani coming in tomorrow to talk about how to live a happy senior life. So I think we've been very lucky to get the kind of people, helping us in the background to, do all this great stuff we can do as senior care providers. The theme for the conclave is reimagining senior care, and we keep talking about this huge potential of this 300 million seniors coming by 2050, and the growth in the market is at 3 to 5% in just senior population. But one more thing is very true, like in the Western countries, the wealth is shifting to the seniors. In the US, they say 20% of the seniors own 80% of American wealth. I don't know if it's true or not, but I see a particular that kind of a trend coming into India. But itself, that's an opportunity. But there are a lot of seniors who will be not being able to afford these segments, and we need to be very careful when we become in from a business perspective. How do we cater to both sides? What are the ways we can do that? So to me, there are basically four beliefs which I see will happen in the near future. One, I think a lot of services and products are going to come for seniors and existing suppliers. Let's say senior living player. I think a lot more senior living is already happening in the market, and more senior living play will happen. The second thing I'm excited about is this idea that we're going to create standards. Already government has come up with some standards, and as this today we are actually signing up with Standard Wise to come up with our own self-regulation on standards and see how we can take that up and become better on senior living. And I think that will go across the senior care segment. Uh, I think one more thing which I'm seeing over the last 18 years is the consumer. Earlier, when we used to talk about senior living, everybody used to confuse that with old age home. And we are seeing a change in the consumer understanding of the product, both at the younger generation, at the older generation. And we are seeing a lot more educated seniors on the knowledge of different products available in the marketplace. So I think that will keep going, and that's a big challenge as a supplier. It's not just the demographics. We need to educate consumers to create the demand. And I think the fourth thing which was going to happen, and a very important thing which I see, is a new model of PPP coming in. We were just talking about with Mr. Subramaniam just on the break. that I think one of the biggest challenge for us is that how do we allocate more funds for seniors, because even at the government level there is always paucity of funds, and at the same time how private players can come in and take that as an opportunity and create higher quality of product there. So I think that's what's going to happen. Mr. Subramaniam has, now I want to introduce Mr. Subramaniam directly, but I saw his education qualification. I was like, I can talk about MA, MPhil, bachelor's in economics, MBA in international business, MSc in macroeconomics. He's very well educated. But what I loved, I worked on the senior care group. What I loved about him was this idea that he really cared. He listened to everybody. He was such a great listener. To have that patience to understand each item, it was awesome. He had a clear goal for all of us. He wanted it very short, and he had the intelligence to pick up the right things. So I'm very, very glad to have Mr. Subramaniam. So please, give us your thoughts on what's going on in the market, what's the government doing on this, and we'll conversate further on it.
Thank you, Ankur and Bani, for those nice words. Happy to be here. As I said that, I said many times that it is, youngsters like you who have actually set this whole sector on fire in a way. You brought fresh ideas. You are thinking big. Your vision is long term. So we also tend to learn a lot from people like you who have been in the field for a long time, and they're very committed to the cause. I had the good opportunity of interacting with these 7 working groups of experts, of which Ankur also has contributed handsomely. So these working groups have actually really brought a plethora of new ideas. So that really strengthens our hands. Because so far, the approach of the government, I mean, I can say with a lot of, confidence and humility, has been that, elderly care is not one of the focus items in the government policy, because we very strongly believed that it is the family which will take care of the elders. And it becomes their automatic responsibility, because you bring up the children, so the children will look after you. I think this sort of a quid pro quo is something which which did not work in Western countries, and I think it should not be, because if you bring up children because you want to give, you want to build nation. It should not be that, okay, I bring up my children so that the child will take care of me in the later years. That should not be our intention also, and that should not be our expectation either. So basically, there is such certain amount of policy complacency as far as the elderly care is concerned, because we totally trusted, and probably that is our strength, of the ability of the family to take care of the people who are weak. That is our strength. I mean, that's our culture, our strength, and we are very proud of it. But however, culture is not constant. Culture keeps changing. There are we pick up a lot of new ideas. Some old ideas, become things of the past. We are all seeing that with the lots of working people, both couples working, and then migrations to the urban areas. The traditional setup, what we think of a ideal family, taking care of everybody, is actually breaking down. I'm not saying anything which is not known. I'm only putting this fact that there is a unreasonable complacency, policy complacency, as far as the elderly care is concerned, both at the government level and I think in across policy, I would say even the states. So this has been the case. So everybody is sort of is very happy that but then we also see that how things are changing. There is so much of elderly abuse. There is so much of mental distress that is building up, and that is for everybody to see. I don't need to elaborate that. These are all these are very sad, but then this is truth. So our our response should be to address the problem as it emerges, not think that problem will be taken care by a societal setup which we have inherited for a long time. That will be unwise. So for the first time probably that we are realizing that our response has to be better. Our response has to be more responsible. We should recognize that a large number of people do require some support, and a fairly large number of people just require recognition. So this is actually shaping up, or rather reshaping our thinking about the elderly care and our participation in that process. So the setting up of these 10 working groups, 7 working groups has been a step in that direction. And then, as I said, that we have got wonderful ideas, and then probably we will come out with a major, in fact, I can share in this group that we have come out with a 5,600 crore policy support for the elderly, and this will bring in, this is primarily central government resources. Apart from that, state government, I'm sure this will spur a lot of state government response also. But I wanted to state 5 things. You know everything. You are all there in the sector for a long time. I am a new entrant, but from my understanding, I would like to state 5 things which you can debate and then take this forward. First thing is that our recognition that an elderly person is not a helpless person who requires attention all the time. I think that recognition has come in. So how do we take this from this recognition to providing a productive life and productive livelihood, so that they live in dignity, they live in dignity and happiness. So this is one area which we need to further debate. Lots of ideas have come in our working groups. So we are working on getting the elders together in something like something like a self-help group, where the typical self-help group of the rural development, where the poor women come together, is somewhat different. But here the self-help group really works in order to bring their experience and expertise together in order to take up some activity which will give them pleasure. I think pleasure, recognition, and dignity. So first thing is that we are looking at this sort of a self-help group, but I don't think that is the full solution. So my first point is that can this in this conference, can we really debate on what are all the various ways in which we can recognize the potential of the elders and then give vent to it and use it for the nation building. So this is my first point. My second point that I would like to state is that gone are the days where government becomes the the biggest provider of services. For a long time, we keep cribbing that the government pension bahut kam hai. With this you can't. How can anybody live? Absolutely true. But I'm basically looking at elderly care as a national effort. It cannot be a governmental effort. I very deliberately make the difference between the two. The governmental effort, whether it is central government or state government, can only bring a partial solution. A lot of ability is there in the private sector, the service providers, the youth who are coming in. So there is a lot of ideas, and there is a possibility of getting in a lot of investment into this sector, which we are calling Ankur and others would call as a silver economy. So there is a huge potential for this to make it into a national effort, and this national effort, I would like to see it blossoming. We are here to take the first step, and I'm sure all of in fact I would say that we should all take this first step together, and so that this will really become a national movement. The third thing that I would like to say is that there is a lot of scope for innovation. When we were doing this Smart India hackathon, this is in the year 2018, I think the first hackathon that we had done, a large number of students were focusing on developing mobile apps, which would facilitate a better mental makeup of a senior citizen. That is, let them keep playing games. Now, today, of course, there are a large number of such apps which are available. But that day, when I saw these youngsters from some IITs came together, and then they wanted to develop applications which will keep the mind active, so that they will not age faster, or they will not become victims of dementia and other mental illnesses. So innovation, I believe, is the key for going forward. We must find new solutions. The other day, somebody brought a very good idea. He says that the time sharing, I mean, I suppose it has been done in some countries. Is it possible for me to share my time to take care of elders in some other house? He was calling it as a Uberization of the time. That means I have got weekend. I don't have any particular program. My friend may like to go to Ranikhet for a holiday with his family, but then parents are there in the house, and somebody has to take care of them. So he was saying that, okay, I will volunteer to take care of the parents, and so it's a Uberization of the time that a person has got, and maybe that sort of innovative ideas can actually revolutionize this particular segment, and then provide much needed care and support for those people who are confined to homes. So innovation, in order to promote innovation, we must really look at ways, people like Ankur who have actually seen this sector outside and in the country, can actually come up with ideas as how we can actually identify, promote, support such innovative ventures. From our side, what we have done is that we have decided to identify good startups. Startup has to be disruptive idea. Startup is not a new business. Startup has to be a disruptive idea, because it brings in a fresh thinking into either product or process or in service. So if we can actually identify, say, 1,000 such startups, can we provide an equity support from the government, so that they immediately the project becomes more bankable. Getting a bank finance today is not easy. I mean, although we all keep saying that startup ke liye both finance available hai, but for a startup to get money, they really go through a lot of hassle. So we were thinking, can we identify good startups, and then can the government give some sort of equities to start with, and so that they take this as a passport to access institutional finance, and then take it up. So this is something which we have actually prepared a blueprint, and we are going ahead with it. So hopefully, I think April, May onwards, we can roll this out. So innovation and supporting the startups, for those startups working in the field of elderly care, is something we would like to support and promote. But I think, as I keep saying, I would really look for ideas, because I'm sure you will have more things to say as to how best we can do this. Fourth thing that I would like to state is that is what Ankur has been saying, is that there has to be a consensus on the type of standards that these institutions should adopt, national standards. Today, when we have looked at the various elderly homes across the country, we find that there is a lot of substandard. There is, in fact, I would say, a large number of institutions are found to be substandard. They are not providing the services that everybody would expect to be provided to our parents. So I think some sort of adoption of a national standard, and then some sort of a movement towards the people who are providing the service, that let us now move towards upping our standards, so that the dignity, the underlying word of dignity should not be compromised at any level. As far as the standards are concerned, as you know, the bill is already before Parliament, and I'm 100% certain that in this budget session this bill will be passed. So what does this bill do? It says many things. Once it becomes an act, it lays down the national standards. So these national standards would become binding on all of us. So it would also mean that some of us will have to invest a little bit more money, attention, and care in order to up the standards. So I think this is something which we should keep in view. Lastly, I would say that wherever community got involved in elderly care, it has worked so much better. You know, almost about 20 years back, when we were working in the field, we have seen women self-help groups coming together and saying that we want to keep some money aside for those of us who are actually graduating out of the self-help group because they have become more than 60 years. So they kept some money aside and then created a small fund. It's very interesting how the poor really think so much better than sometimes all of us. So they just put it together, a small amount, maybe 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. But with that, what they have done is that they ensured that the people who have retired from the self-help groups were properly fed, are properly clothed. So I think this sort of a community involvement is where I would really look for it. And further also, we should see what are all the best ways in order to get the community participation in the elderly care. I think these are some of the ideas which I thought I would just float it with all of you, so that you can debate and then come back to me with greater ideas. So we are, as I said, that I am here to take forward your ideas and then see that the government's commitment in this particular sector will be assured, and then so that we really open a new chapter in the elderly care in the country. Thanks a lot. I'll stop here.
Thank you, sir. I just loved your talk, loved your thoughts, literally blown away. I love that statement, parent as a child to become a nation builder, not a person who takes care of the parents. And I think that's a very important thing. As we build our nation, we want more and more people giving back to our country. And I really resonate with it. And the five things you've talked about. Again, the country coming together to help, innovation, community. At the end of the day, that's the thinking we're talking about. So I have two questions. One on this, I think innovation fund. I think it's a brilliant idea again. And I know there will be a lot of entrepreneurs who are sitting on the sidelines trying a lot of things. People are getting in touch. We heard Rohit Bhayana talk about the fact that he gets approached by 3 people every day. So tell me, how can people get in touch with the government? How do we pass knowledge about this fund? And what can we do as ASLI, or what do you expect us or as a government we can play a role together on the same?
So as far as the startup scenario is concerned, we will come out with this policy in the month of definitely in the month of April. So okay. What I was thinking is that once we bring out this policy, we would like to do some sort of we will see ideas from across the country. So maybe we'll call for it. In fact, I'm thinking in terms of constituting a body of experts who can actually sit together, debate on this, work out modalities, and also look at a way to evaluate the startups, because not all startups are, as I said, that startup has to be a disruptive idea. A startup is not a new business. So not merely a new business. So therefore, we will set up this committee and we will invite some of you to be on that committee so that we can actually see how to take this forward. We are committing resources. We are sold out on this idea, and the modalities we will unfold in the month of April.
Fantastic, sir. And another question now on the standards. So the government is coming with a national standard. Now, will it cover old age homes? Will it cover senior living? Because there's a UDH statement on the retirement home part, and we are coming up with our own standards, and how we as ASLI and the government can work together on this.
So as far as the standards are concerned, to start with, our first phase of standards will be on the senior citizen homes, which are serving indigent and maybe middle class or lower middle class sort of sections. So that will be our first approach. But I think we would like to go further on this path, and then possibly evolve national standards for each segment. Even senior living also. But that's not where we are looking to start with. We're focusing on the poorest.
Okay. So, and will UDH ministry take this up further, or you think it will be a part of the social?
So it will be normally a government government works in a consultative process. So I'm certain that there will be consultation between the MoHUA, that is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and us definitely on that. So we will keep you informed on that as it happens.
Heartfelt gratitude, sir, and for accepting to become our guest of honor for the event and sharing your insights with us. Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for an engaging interaction. Thanks a lot, sir.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.